privilege. Please never mind what Ogami Sami says. Be the judge for yourself. But it will just suffice to say that he is a man who, I'm sure a lot of you share this feeling as well, who inspires. And when you're talking about the consummate professional, when it comes to this job that we call broadcasting, he is up there at the very heights of it. So I thank him for the opportunity, and I thank all of you for having me today. So as he already indicated, my name is Onah Kosi. I currently work with the Cool Wazobia Info branch, and I'm in Port Harcourt as we speak. You would hear my voice mostly on Nigeria Info PH and Cool FM PH. I intend that this exercise be as interactive as possible. So please, I need your cooperation to achieve that, okay? So today's lecture is titled, or my segment of the set of lectures set to take place today, of which one has already happened, is titled No Days Off. And I'd like to start by engaging you on what you think this means in general terms, and also what you think it means relative to the media industry. So can anyone try to explain from their own point of view what no days off, what they think it means in general terms and in relation to what it is that we're doing at this moment in time at the Next Media Star Season 6. Can anyone please?
Hello, good morning.
Morning.
My name is Joy Brady. No days off for me means, in relation to this topic, means not taking a break from improving on yourself. I'm not saying that you have gotten to the pinnacle and you don't want to do anything any longer. Or it means that you should keep doing something every day, doing something to add to what you already know. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Joy. You're quite perceptive. I can already tell. Thank you very much. Anybody else who could try?
Okay, good morning, sir. I'm Morrison.
Hi, Morrison.
I'm good, I'm fine. I think from my own perspective, no days off means you should keep doing it based. And concerning our topic today, concerning our media training, you should keep doing everything that you're doing as a journalist or whatever you intend to be. You should continue improving on yourself. And even if you've been given so many awards, it shouldn't get to your head. You should still do what you do. Just like what Ronaldo said, he said he will not stop training because he knows that people like Messi and the likes of Messi are ready to take his place. So he will keep training and training till he retires. So that is what it means to say there's no day off.
Thank you very much, Morrison. And just like Joy, who spoke before you, you are quite perceptive as well. Yeah, I mean, in preparing this lecture, I anticipated that perhaps it will not be grasped immediately what no days off in the context in which we are talking about really means, but I was quite wrong, and happily so, because it means I'm talking to people who are able to see beyond the surface. Because naturally, when you say no days off, people would imagine Monday to Friday, you have to keep turning up for work. Perhaps that's a little bit of what it means, but the response I have had from Joy and Morrison is more closely related to where I'm driving at, okay? So in the context of this conversation, Joy and Morrison are quite right. Now, the last time that I had the opportunity to share my thoughts with you during the course of season 5, I spoke or lectured on the topic, quote, everyone has the same information. What are you doing with yours? I do not know if any of you here remember or took part in that lecture, but therein at the time, I tried to explain the importance of constantly creating distinct angles and perspectives from information that is already available to the general public and your competitors in other broadcasting houses. I said, everyone has the same information. What are you doing with yours? Okay. So today I will be taking you on the attitude required to achieve excellence in broadcasting. And please note, this is very important, that when I say excellence in broadcasting, I'm referring to the job in itself, not the other things that surround it these days, especially. I'm not speaking about social media popularity across Instagram, maybe TikTok, and co. It is true that social media has become an integral part of what we do on a daily basis, and broadcasters are not left out. But I mean to explain that the most popular broadcaster on social media is not necessarily the best at the job. For instance, showing parts of your body or jumping on every trend will give you thousands of likes and followers, but it may not coincide with how good you are at the job. So when I'm speaking of excellence, I'm talking about the art of broadcasting in itself, and not the other things surrounding it, okay? So in the spirit of keeping this interactive, I want to ask a question, and I hope to get responses from you listening. And the question is, this question will usher us into the meat of the lecture proper. And that question is, between an open heart surgeon and a broadcaster, who should be more professional, meticulous, and concentrated in the execution of their job? I ask again, between an open heart surgeon and a broadcaster, who should be more professional, meticulous, and concentrated in the execution of their job? Anyone care to answer? Anyone?
Yes, sir. Good afternoon.
Okay. Good afternoon.
My name is Jane.
All right, Jane.
For me, I'll go for the broadcaster, because one, as a broadcaster, you need to create a content that will attract your audience or your listeners.
Okay, thank you for your thoughts, Jane. Anybody else?
Good afternoon.
Afternoon. Welcome.
I am Aselemi Owolobi.
All right, Aselemi, you're welcome. Happy to get your take on this.
It should be the broadcaster. Why? For the doctor, worst of it will be one patient dying in his hand. But for the broadcaster, if he gives a wrong information, it can set the globe on fire.
Interesting. Thank you, Aselemi. Now, I know this is a forum for broadcasting, but feel free to air your thoughts if you think it shouldn't be the broadcaster. This is, in fact, part of what being a broadcaster, part of the requirements of being an ace broadcaster is to be objective at all times. Your bias towards broadcasting should not affect your response. So I'm still hoping that many of you respond. Remember the question, and it goes this way. Between an open heart surgeon and a broadcaster, who should be more professional, meticulous, and concentrated in the execution of their job? Okay, so more responses,
okay,
please.
Hello, sir. Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
Yes, my name is Justice.
All right, Justice.
Okay. All right. For for me, I think, I think the both of them, the both professions should carry out their jobs meticulously, because you can't judge, because like what you rightly said before I started my own suggestion. Those professions are different professions, and in every profession you should be meticulous and objective, please. So for if a life, somebody said one life is gone, but that life is important. That life can breed other lives too. So why killing this particular life because it's just one? No. So for me, I feel the both professions too should carry out their job with their professional ethics, and we should leave bias out of it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think we'll have one more, then we'll move on. Anyone care to add to the
Good
topic?
afternoon,
Good
sir.
afternoon. Welcome, Kelvin Wilson.
Yeah, Kelvin. Okay, sir. I think both of them, the open heart surgeon and the journalist, they're both dealing with humans, but the open heart surgeon is dealing with a particular person, while a journalist is dealing with the public. One information from a journalist can trigger a nationwide fight or destruction. That's one wrong information, while another good information from the same journalist can trigger happiness or bring unity within the people. But for the surgeon, that person or that doctor is dealing with just one patient at a time.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Kelvin. Once again, I have to say that it's very impressive, the responses I'm getting. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Joy, Morrison, Jane, Aselemi, Justice, and Kelvin, who have contributed. So we move. On face value, some other persons would assume it is the open heart surgeon who needs to be more professional, meticulous, and concentrated because of the delicate nature of what they are dealing with. But as many of you have also cited, upon close examination, you ask the question, why shouldn't a broadcaster assume the same level of concentration and professionalism? If information can amount to life or death, why shouldn't the broadcaster handle it with as much meticulousness as an open heart surgeon? And many of you already alluded to this. If I go on air to falsely announce that all the Igbos in Kano have been killed, what do you imagine would be the consequence? A full-scale retaliatory move perhaps could be worse, have worse implications for several lives, properties, and even national security. Perhaps even more than a single mistake from an open heart surgeon, okay? But quite frankly, we have to have a broad look at this. The argument above that arose from the question of who should be more professional, meticulous, or concentrated is not necessarily to compare what the broadcaster does with what the surgeon does, okay? Because given the vastness of the scope of broadcasting, where, for instance, we can spend hours on entertainment gist, chatting about Burna Boy, Wizkid, or Davido, that are not, in my opinion, existentially paramount, okay? It may not be fair to draw comparisons with that of the arduous task of an open surgeon, okay? So sometimes broadcasting, due to its vastness, might be dealing with areas that are not as delicate as operating on a human being's heart, okay? Wizkid, Davido, Burna Boy, all of them are quite important, and in the area in which they contribute has its own importance as well. But my own opinion is that talking about Wizkid and Davido, for instance, may not hold as much existential importance as performing an open heart surgery or dealing in the social political sphere where it's a little bit more volatile, okay? all of these things said, why I raise that question is that we must realize, and I hope that, and I'm happy that a lot of us already do, that if a broadcaster must hit the heights or the peak of performance, then he or she must learn from, he or she must adopt the attitude of the surgeon. He or she must assume that the stakes are so high, so much so that in preparation and execution, they would already hold themselves to account in such a way that they cannot accommodate clumsiness. So for you to hit the heights of the profession, for you to be at peak performance, you must feel yourself at all times to be in the same frame of the open heart surgeon who cannot afford to be clumsy. Okay? So that attitude would help you to avoid clumsiness and carelessness, because first and foremost, you already hold yourself to a high standard. Therefore, in preparation, you must charge yourself with leaving no stone unturned. Okay? You have to try to prepare meticulously with full concentration. You have to get the necessary information. You have to also anticipate the responses. To sum it all up, you have to be armed to the teeth. Take, for instance, now we're in the political season. You're hosting a program and someone from the opposition party, for instance, comes on your show to say that, look, 90 million Nigerian children are out of school, 90 million Nigerians are out of school, quoting statistics. Okay, if you're not well prepared, if you have not meticulously planned, if excellence is not your objective, you will not be in a position to decipher the validity of the claims being made on your show. But if you are, if you had prepared well, if you saw yourself at the time of preparation and in the process of execution, you see yourself as an open heart surgeon who cannot afford to be clumsy, then you would have armed yourself with the necessary information to be able to say, hold on, sir. According to the records provided by the National Bureau of Statistics, it is 30% or 10% or 15% of Nigerian children that are out of school, which amounts to 25 million and not 90 million. So could you please walk back on that, as that is not a factual bit of information? You see? So clumsiness does not fly under your watch, because you had previously, on the basis of the attitude that you have adopted for the work, assumed yourself to need to be as meticulous in planning and execution in a way that is similar to that of the open heart surgeon, who cannot afford to make clumsy mistakes. You have to pay attention at all times. You have to sharpen your mind at all times to pick up as much detail as possible from the responses you're getting to the ones that you need to arm yourself with before turning on the mic. Okay? Now, it is the little things that sum up the total. The little things you do here and there. If an open heart surgeon cannot arrive late for his procedure, why should a broadcaster? If the surgeon cannot arrive 5 minutes after he was scheduled to operate, why should the broadcaster arrive 5 minutes after their show is supposed to have commenced? If the open heart surgeon is supposed to have been there on ground waiting for the patient to be wheeled in, why shouldn't the broadcaster also adopt the same approach? If the surgeon cannot arrive at the theater without knowing what it is that he has come to do that day, whether it's going to be operating on the kidney, on the liver, or, as we've been citing all the while, on the heart, okay? If he cannot do that, why should a broadcaster arrive at the studio without knowing what it is that they want to talk about? If the surgeon cannot be mediocre, why should a broadcaster be mediocre? Listen, you have to gauge yourself at all times with what is the global best practice, okay? This does not mean you should become European or American, for instance, because the peculiarities of their own region differs from ours, okay? So, but there are things about professionalism that are universal from place to place, like proper preparation, for instance, okay? It's not an American or European thing. I'll give you an example. Some weeks ago, I think about 2 weeks ago, I was having a conversation with a good friend of mine, and he said he was listening to a broadcaster he reveres, okay? And then the broadcaster made a mistaking speech. And do you know the conclusion he reached? He said, if this guy I respect can make this kind of mistake, who am I not to make mistakes? I smiled. And when he asked for my opinion, I simply told him, that broadcaster you revere has made a mistake. But that is not a reason for you to go on and become one who is comfortable with making mistakes. He is not your standard as far as a mistake is concerned. Don't think that because they have made a mistake, it's okay to make mistakes. No, that is not the standard to which you hold yourself, to which you should hold yourself. The standard to which you should hold yourself is a standard that does not permit you to make those kind of mistakes. So because Onah Kosi has gone on air and he has made a blunder, it's now okay for you to make a blunder, even if you respect Onah Kosi's body of work? No. So you must gauge yourself at all times with what is the global best practice, okay? Now, it is not enough to have 2 wonderful shows in a week, okay? Why can't you have 7 good shows, 7 wonderful shows in 7 days? Why can't you? It's not enough to have 2 wonderful shows in a week, because it's possible to have 7 good shows in 7 days. So will I say, or rather, will a surgeon say, okay, I had a good surgery yesterday, so there's no problem if I have a clumsy surgery today? They won't say that. Why should a broadcaster say or feel that way? When you execute a wonderful show, don't anchor in the satisfaction that you derive. The goal should be to be better even tomorrow. Do you know what that kind of attitude does to or for you? It allows you to keep raising the bar such that even on your relatively bad days, they would be equivalent to a mediocre broadcaster's best performance. So I'm pausing for effect so that the things I have said would sink in, okay? When you have a good show, you don't drop the anchor like a ship at harbor and say, oh, I've done it, and then, no. You say, this has been a wonderful show. There's nothing wrong with acknowledging it. But you say, it can always be better. Or in the least, that standard must be maintained. But you know what they say, you aim for the stars. If you fall short, should it be that you fall short? Well, you land on the sky, right? So such attitude allows you to keep operating at a very high frequency. Now, those of you who are familiar with sports or maybe football would know, or sports in general, or in any walk of life, even scouting. Let's say Ogasami Wejiya is speaking to a friend of his and he says, and that friend says, okay, I'm Ogasami, I need you to do this thing for me. And Ogasami, who is always a busy man, says, look, I would have loved to do that, but today, you see, today I don't have time. But I can recommend someone for you. The person is let's see who we have here. The person is Joy or Morrison. Joy or Morrison can do this thing for you. And the person says, nah, if it's not Ogasami Weji, I don't want. Ogasami now says, look, don't worry, just listen to this person by 7 a.m. tomorrow morning. You will see why I say they are capable of doing this thing you want me to do for you, or doing something quite similar. And then the person says, okay, I take your word for it. 7 a.m., the person, tomorrow morning, the person tunes on the radio, turns on the television set to listen to you. And it happens to be on that day that after you had done a wonderful show yesterday, the previous day, you say, I did a good show yesterday. I can't, and you have failed to keep up with the consistency. What would happen? The person will tune in on a day that you have not kept up with excellence as you should have, and will form the opinion that you're not capable, as Ogasami has suggested. So even if part of what you do is to market yourself for other opportunities, your prospective offer might be coming from a person who has tuned in. Maybe someone just flew in from the airport or just drove into town via road and they just tune in randomly, okay? And then if you're the kind of broadcaster whose performance is constantly, reasonably at a high, chances are that the person will meet you on that day still when you're performing at a peak level. So it's part of why consistency in excellence is important. But beyond all of these calculations, okay, everything worth doing is worth doing well. That should be the guiding principle at all times, okay? So I would end at this time by saying this. If excellence is your goal, which it really should be, for whatever is worth doing well, then you cannot afford to at least deliberately have days when you are off. Don't get me wrong. There will be days where circumstances may limit you. You may wake up sick, you may, just circumstances, equipment may fail. And then you don't have something as well as you had hoped or desired. But then if you are one who has adopted or had adopted the right attitude, such days would become quite rare, okay? They would become quite rare. And you would most likely live with a very high standard, which sets you apart and distinguishes you, okay? Remember that excellence is not an event. It's not a one-time occurrence. It is a stream. You know, a stream that keeps flowing, okay? It is the sum total of habits, little habits executed every single day. Excellence is not a one-time event. It's not a one-time occurrence. It is a stream or the sum total of the habits that you execute every single day. Thank you very much. And I think this is where I'll pause for now.
All right, thank you very much, sir.
You're welcome. So also, I forgot to add, if there are questions or comments, general contributions, please feel free.
Okay, sir. Please, if anyone have a question, you can indicate and you'll be called upon.
Or contribution, it must not necessarily be a question. It may just be a general contribution.
Okay, Justice, you can have the floor.
All right, thank you very much, Morris and Victoria. Thank you very much, Mr. Kosi. Wow. This I like what you said. It's not necessarily must be a question, but a suggestion and contribution. I just want to contribute because what you just taught now is for me makes me sober. Like I've been reflecting because I have a personal experience of what you just said at this moment. You know, I'm privileged to partner with a radio station here in Port Harcourt. I'm not going to mention the name. You know, I work with the commercial arm of the station. So we bring in adverts to the station. Now, I had a client I was talking to, and I told him, I said, listen to this particular program. You know, this particular program is top notch. The presenter is doing very well. And the day the man tuned in, that particular day I was not on our station. So he called me and said, what's happening? What's happening? You guys are playing music. If you want me to bring my business to your radio station, you people need to be consistent, keep up the pace. And when I had to tune it to our own station, and I noticed that we had a technical issue. Now, when the presenter came on air, she apologized. Now, what I'm trying to say is this: for now, the man didn't even talk to me again because the way I hyped the program for him, he just listened for the first time that the station was having a technical issue, and he was really, really sad about that. So, sir, I want to thank you for this teaching because it hits inside of me. Like I've understood what you said and what it means to keep on doing good, keep on the pace and being consistent. I want to say thank you very much for giving us this lecture now. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Justice. My pleasure, really, interacting with us all.
Okay, so as for me, I have a question to ask.
Okay.
Okay, in a situation where you've been consistent, you've been doing your job, and despite the number of accolades you've gotten from people, then just like the instance you gave and what Justice just said, maybe natural circumstances, you felt ill and you're not active at that point. How do you convince someone that is really interested hearing your program for the first time based on what other persons have said to them and they have decided to tune in and join your program, then you're not available, you're not able to give to them what they want? How do you convince them and make them understand? Because most people really find it hard to understand that things like this can just happen sometimes, but some persons are really, really difficult to understand things. So how do you intend to convince them and make them come back and listen to your show and get that maximum satisfaction they want?
All right, thank you very much, Morrison. Morrison, I'll cite a few examples while trying to answer, hopefully, your question. But I don't know if, okay, I think you're the one who mentioned Ronaldo, so you probably would be, you're probably quite reasonably familiar with sports. Now, for the last 15 years or thereabouts, Cristiano Ronaldo, maybe Messi, the likes of Roger Federer or Djokovic or Nadal, these guys have maintained a high level of excellence such that it already becomes clear that on the day things haven't gone well, it is an anomaly. So they have already established a reputation that precedes them, okay? Going through life, there's no way I can imagine that you cannot have a day or two where something just happens and you're not able to be at the level of peak performance. But the reputation that you have crafted for yourself would make amends for that blip. So that if Ronaldo goes through a match or he doesn't score, and he doesn't score, I mean, you will know that it's a blip. They say it's abnormal that he has gone 90 minutes without scoring. Not that he's a bad player, okay? So same applies to Hamilton. He's not having a good season in Formula One now, but he has crafted a reputation for himself, 7-time world champion, where he deserves all the benefits of the doubt because the facts are there. So he has recorded this, built a reputation with his excellence over time, that even this season where things aren't going quite well, that reputation still precedes him, okay? So statistics also help. In broadcasting, there's something called ratings. Accuracy of it sometimes is in doubt, but it is what, let's say, advertisers usually try to look at when they want to decide where to take their adverts. Ratings shows number of listeners at a given time, which even your employer sometimes use it to judge your performance. So if you have kept up with excellence all the while, give and take, the statistics will also bear witness, okay? All right? So when you have created a reputation via the right attitude, a day when you probably haven't done so well for whatever reason, would at least initially be classified as an abnormal situation, okay? And you will be given the benefit of the doubt because your work, which you've crafted over time, would precede you, okay? But importantly, if you fall, as they say, rise up, bounce back. If you have a bleep, what do? Get back on form and don't dwell on it. I've asked that you don't dwell on the ones you've even done well, much more where you've not done well, a relative failure. You bounce back and carry on with what is quite normal with you, which is to operate at a very high frequency. Okay, so doing well over time creates a reputation which will serve as a buffer for when you have that anomalous situation where you probably haven't done as well as you normally would. Okay.
All right, thank you very much, sir.
Okay.
Okay, we still have questions, and we have some in the chat box.
Okay.
Okay, we have from Olubumi and others. I don't know, should you read it yourself or I should read
No,
for you?
please moderate. Read, I will respond.
Okay. Okay, the first one is from Olubumi Naziru. She said, with so many responsibilities a broadcaster has, how does the one manage personal life and professional life without buckling under pressure?
That's a very interesting question. That's a very interesting question. And I wouldn't be as arrogant to presume that I have it all figured out in that respect. No. All I can say is when such challenges are before you, you try to compartmentalize, okay? Those who are Christians will be familiar with the part of the scripture which demands that we give unto Caesar what belongs to Caesar, okay? So you know what is facing you, what demands your attention. So you try to compartmentalize, okay? And try to divide your time in a way that each gets their due, okay? There's no straightforward answer to this because our circumstances are different. Some are single, some are married, some don't have kids, some do have kids, some have to do more than a job to be able to make ends meet and all of that. But I think that if you try to compartmentalize as much as is possible, then you can arrive at some kind of equilibrium where family gets what it deserves and then work gets what it deserves, okay? But most importantly, try and make the effort to compartmentalize, okay? And that will bring you closer to this equilibrium that we speak about. And again, if you are, chances are that for some people, much of what is competing for their time may be classified as frivolities, really. I say this with all due respect as well. Okay. Remember also that if you're also climbing the career ladder, certain sacrifices have to be made. Okay. So I for instance, would Sundays usually are the days when I'm most busy because I have to collect the entire weekend and get it ready in a format that is quite rich for Monday morning. So time is scarce. A friend of mine is calling me, say, oh boy, it's Sunday, let's hang out now. All right. It's quite tempting. I need to be there to be happy and share the moments with my friends. Okay. I need to maybe have a drink or live other aspects of life. But the demands of my profession may not let me at that time. So I may have to sacrifice being with my friends, which has its own importance, because I prefer at this moment in time to be able to execute my work well on a Monday morning. So that if I become as good as I can be on the job, chances are that I may attain a certain level in the course of the job or in the course of my career where I would have more yardage, more allowance to be able to experience other aspects of my life. So sometimes sacrifice is also key. So Nasiru, I don't know how well I've answered your question, but I hope you find some value in the response that I've given.
Okay, so we still have another question here in the chat box from
Fine.
Chukwu Divine Akelachi. He said he have learned really a lot during this lecture, and he wants to ask, what are the basic and proper habits he can adopt to constantly churn out excellent performance? Hello, can you hear me, sir?
Yes, please.
Okay, he said, what are the basic? Excuse me, sir. Please, Victor Harrison, can you mute your mic, please? Victor Harrison, please mute your mic.
No.
Please, Victor Harrison, mute your mic. Your mic is on. Okay, sir, but can you hear me now? Can I continue with the
Yes,
question?
I can hear you. I can hear. Continue, please.
Okay, Chukwu Divine Akela, she said, what are the basic and proper habits I can adopt to constantly churn out excellent performances? And secondly, he said he would like to add that he wants to join he joins this training to become a professional football analyst, and he admires you a lot, that he would like to intern under you for the purpose of gaining experience. How do he start?
All right. Thank you very much, Morrison, and thanks to Chukwu Divine for the question. Well, what are the things you can adopt to constantly keep churning out excellence? First of all, when you take a job, what are its descriptions? Let's cite the example of what he loves to do, which is to analyze football. What does it take to analyze football? Well, you have to watch football, don't you? So watch the games. And watch the games with your eyes wide open and soak up as much detail as possible. Okay? then critical thinking is also involved. Let's say you watch Man United take on Chelsea. Chuku Divine, if you can hear me. I'm speaking on football analysis because you indicated it's something that you love. And thank you too for the compliments. And we'll talk, I will probably find a way to talk about the other aspects of your request. You watch Chelsea, Manchester United play. Well, watch the game. What are the patterns? Take records of the ball possession, the shots, what the teams are trying to do. Are they trying to break in through the flanks? Are they using the midfield more? Where are they strong? Where are they forcing the opponents to be weak? What is the leak in this setup? What could they do better? I mean, also try to listen to as much diverse opinions as possible, okay? And when you collect all of these perspectives, then you now get to work. And that's where the art of broadcasting now comes in. You're not the only one who has seen the Chelsea Man United game. But how you choose to talk about it is important, okay? So through critical thinking, and also I say it a lot, it can be learned, but it can also be a gift, the gift of being able to present in a way that keeps the listener engrossed in what it is that you have to say, even if they already have the information. The listener knows Chelsea beat Man United 2-0 or Man United beat Chelsea 4-0. But how you go about it then, and if you're the one to constantly be in thought as to how can I present this? How can I present this? I was listening earlier when Ogasami was giving some instructions and advice. Well, you can talk about the Man United game, and you can say, oh, who's the coach now at Man United? Erik ten Hag. Erik ten Hag said, according to Erik ten Hag, or you can source for the interview where Erik ten Hag said those words exactly. You can record them and have your listener hear from the horse's mouth. And that creates a different experience for your listener. You can quote Erik ten Hag verbatim. But if they hear from Erik ten Hag directly, because you've looked for the interview, you've recorded the audio, you've edited it to the point where the necessary information that you think your listener should hear is captured, then it's a different experience. So you have to be able to, first off, make the observation, one, collect as much diverse opinions as possible and reflect critically on them. Don't be the one to say, okay, Onah Kosi said, therefore it is true. Feel free to critique the thoughts of Onah Kosi on the subject, add to yours, and then be able to do the extra work required to move from mediocre to excellent by going the extra mile. Okay, Rivers United just took on Watanga FC from Liberia on Sunday, okay? Now, everybody interviews the coach of the side. Well, are you the type to try to say, okay, let me get some of these players scored, okay? There's a player who has appeared for the very first time for Rivers United. Let me also get his perspective. So you hustle for an extra interview. You know, these little things, the extra things. And then most importantly, when you collect this basket of information, start thinking critically about the best way possible to deploy them. Okay? So these little habits, come together to make your body of work an excellent one. Chico Divine, I hope that I've done some justice to the question that you raised. On the other part of interning with me, well, I'm not the head of sports where I work, and some of these things have to go through the institution in itself. Okay, so I may not be at liberty to grant your wish as we speak. Okay, But what I can do is to see what can be done about it. Please reach out to me via social media, Twitter, leave a DM if you can. So we can take it up from there. But remember, I understand the beauty of observation from a closer range, okay? But listen, you listen to Ogasami do his wonderful stuff. You try to listen to other broadcasters also. Then while you don't yet have the chance to be up close and personal to observe directly, do as much, soak like a sponge from afar, okay? And retain as much as you can retain, okay? For the time being, while you work towards having a more closer experience with these guys. This comment I've made is it's not dismissive in any way, and I encourage you to reach out and we'll see what can be done. I probably have to talk to the head of my department, and then we'll see where we can take it on from there. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, sir. We still have question from Fortune Best Man. Fortune Best Man, if you're there, you can have the floor.
Good day, sir.
Good day, Fortune.
My question. How could one handle being objective? Like today, our previous lecturer said.
Fortunately, I think we lost him, sir.
Oh, okay. Hopefully he's able to get back and ask again his question on objectivity. But meantime, if we have other questions, I'm more than willing to keep reacting.
Okay, we still have one in the chat box from Jane Eziela. She said, as an aspiring OAP, how do we build our confidence in writing skills?
How do you build your confidence and writing skills? In speaking and in writing, what are usually the sources of lack of confidence? There could be a lot, but what occurs to me now are these two things. One is not feeling self-assured. But you must then have to realize that you're a distinct individual, a human being who has a right to an opinion and who has a right to speak within the confines of what isn't classified as a speech that is uncivil. I suppose you know what I mean. There is freedom of speech, but there are speeches that can have dire consequences. Okay, libel, defamation. There are laws limiting your freedom to defame someone or say something that amounts to libel. Okay, so freedom of speech is not without responsibility. So you have an idea, there's something you want to express. Okay, I had the privilege of being asked to take on this class today. So what did I do? I thought about what I would love to talk about on this day. And then I set it aside. And after my walk yesterday, which took me late into the night, I set my alarm for 8:30 this morning so that I can get up and develop my thoughts so that I will be ready to talk to you. So I put down my thoughts in the order in which I would want to express them. And I had a second look, and I was convinced that it was reasonable to speak as I have penned down, okay? That gave me confidence and assurance because I was now at a point where I was convinced that what I had to say made sense. So first and foremost, know what you want to talk about or write about. If it is one that requires research, do the research. Express it in such a way that you, the writer, or you, the speaker, would first and foremost be convinced about what it is that you want to say. So once you get that conviction, it takes away the pressure of being unsure of self, okay? If I want to go on air and I want to say that Ronaldo scored a hat-trick, why should I be afraid to say Ronaldo has scored a hat-trick or that Burna Boy has picked up a Grammy? If it is indeed the case that Ronaldo has scored a Grammy and Burna Boy has picked up a Grammy, but if I'm unsure, I don't know how many goals Ronaldo has scored. I don't know if I can't go and say Ronaldo has scored about a hat-trick, about, you see, tentative. I'm not sure. It makes me lack confidence about the validity of what I want to say. Okay? I'm doing entertainment gist, and I say that House of Dragons, which is a rave of the moment, has netted $10 billion or $10 trillion on the box office. If the information is accurate from the research I've made, then I should say it confidently. But if I'm not sure, first of all, be sure of what you want to talk about and have a picture of how you want to talk about it. And be convinced about the righteousness of what you want to say. In the first, if I may use that word, I'm not looking at it through the prism of morality, but I'm just, right, righteousness in this context means you're just sure about this, how solid what you want to say is, right? Then that takes away this feeling of being unsure, okay? And secondly, like sometimes you take up the stage, you have a microphone, quite naturally, perhaps you feel a bit of stage fright. But remember, you are Jane. And Jane is a full-fledged human being. Jane is bright. Jane is intelligent. Jane has a right to speak her mind and opinion on the subject. So all the eyes staring at you should not intimidate you. All the people who could be listening while you speak into the microphone should not, once you're sure that your thoughts as has been collected is quite solid, why should you be afraid of Onah Kosi listening to what you have to say? The most Onah Kosi can't do is, let's say in the situation where you're broadcasting, is to maybe calling or sending and register their disagreement with what you've said, and you are at liberty to counter their disagreement by stating more facts and logic to your position. And even if you must all disagree to disagree, then so be it. But don't get yourself to the point where you're convinced about your thoughts as has been collected, that you now are confident enough to express them. And all the individual you're afraid of their staring eye is just an individual like you. Okay, it's your Jane, they are Kosi. So Jane speaks, Kosi hears, Kosi speaks, Jane hears. So you have a right to speak your mind. And if you're reasonably convinced about the solid nature of the thoughts you've collected, it takes away a lot of the things about being unsure. Like a teacher in class, you're going to teach organic chemistry, and you don't know what the compounds are. You're teaching government. You want to teach constitutional development in Nigeria. You should be able to know the constitution. When you don't know these things, the students looking at you starts to make you feel afraid and unsure because you'll be found out. But if you know your stuff, then you go on and pass the information that you've already collected. So first of all, be sure of what you want to say, develop it to the point where it can be said appropriately, and then feel confident enough to go on and say it. And know that as an individual, you have a right to express your thoughts. And the person staring back at you should not intimidate you because you have a right to speak. And more so, you have collected something worth speaking about. So that's my response, Jane.
All right, thank you, sir. We have we have Fortune Best Man back. So if you can hear me, you can ask your question.
Okay, sorry about the delay though.
No
Um,
problem.
I was talking about being objective. We all have clubs we support. Even Agasam himself will tell you that his first club is Rivers United, that anytime he's going to analyze Rivers United, he's being biased about that. But we know all that is a joke. But being biased, how do you control it? Me, I have a club I support, but you know, I don't always show it out. Like many people around my area, do ask me again and again, which club do I support? I don't tell them. But I want to ask you on a personal terms, like I know you have a club you support. When you're analyzing game or football, this thing, how do you tend to, waiver those challenges, those your bias terms and challenges?
All right, Fortune, thank you very much. That's a very interesting question. Fortune, I had the chance to be at a place where, I mean, if you're talking about broadcasting in Nigeria and then you're talking about sports broadcasting, that place that I was at the time was recognized as perhaps, because everything, in Nigeria, if it's happening in Lagos, it has to be the best, but it's not the truth of the matter. But based on their perception of things, that place was being talked about as the best there is, the standard. So I had the chance to be in that environment for a while. And I saw how they went about the business. A lot of them were fans of a particular club. So sometimes when the show would start, it seemed as though we were on a club forum and not on a radio program. So I used my tongue to count my teeth, and I realized that this is not how I want to do this job. So mentally, I started to develop enough respect for my work that I had to do away with club sentiments. So I had to become the surgeon who would think that I have a patient to operate upon. It doesn't matter if he's my neighbor that didn't say good morning to me yesterday, or we quarreled the other day, who parked his car here and knew. No, I don't. The surgeon has to perform the procedure because it's a professional demand. It doesn't matter about what he thinks. He won't let the patient die because he does not like the patient, or the patient is a Muslim and he's a Christian. No. So I developed that attitude. I had enough respect for my work to put away the sentiments of club support. So gradually, I started to grow in that, so much so that, just like you, people don't know where my sentiments lie. I don't even remember, because I have respect for my job enough not to contaminate it with these things about. Importantly, it is possible also to be a known supporter of a club and still be objective. But here is the danger. The human mind is quite tricky, okay? So once people put a label on you, they judge your thoughts from the prism of that label that you've already established for yourself. So, I'm a Real Madrid fan, I'm a Man United fan, I'm a Chelsea fan. You wear it like a badge, fine. But now, because part of what you sell as a broadcaster is credibility. So if you paint yourself with a brush and then everything you push out is now seen through that lens, is it really completely the fault of the listener? Because you have demonstrated that this is where your loyalties lie. So how do you develop objectivity? The same applies to all other kinds of those in the, let's say, politics, for instance. You might be a PDP sympathizer, you might be an APC sympathizer. But if we are talking about unemployment, you don't discuss it on the basis of your partisan leanings. You look at the facts and have enough respect for your job that you do it, you give to Caesar what belongs to Caesar. Okay? So bringing it back to the sport, if you have enough respect for the job that you do as a football analyst, as a I love Novak Djokovic, yeah, but I'm able to be objective about Novak Djokovic because once I'm not able to do so, look, and I tell you this, and you can't hold more than one opinion at a time. Listen, I like Novak Djokovic because he had the courage to enter tennis and become a dominant force when you already had arguably two of the best players to ever play the game in Rafael Nadal and Roger Federer, okay? So his courage endeared me to him. You know what it means to have the mental strength to say, these guys are as good as this, I can be as good as they are. He was an outsider, then he came in and he put up a claim, so much so that some people even think that he may end up being statistically the greatest tennis player of all time. But that does not stop me from understanding that as far as holding the racket and manipulating the ball is concerned, Novak Djokovic is not as good as Roger Federer. So I put myself in a state where I'm able to hold two opinions. I think that Messi is a greater footballer than Ronaldo. But I also think that Ronaldo has had a greater career overall than Messi. If you drop the ball on the pitch and say, let's play, let's manipulate this round ladder, Ronaldo is not as good as Messi, my opinion. But that doesn't stop me from recognizing that if Ronaldo had conquered the Premier League, gone to Spain, maintained excellence, gone to Italy, the same thing, and is back in England at 37 and was top scorer for Man United and top scorer, highest scorer in the Premier League from last season, there is an argument that perhaps while he may not be the better player, he may have the greater career. So because I think Messi plays better than Ronaldo in terms of manipulating the ball, it does not mean I become irrevocably hinged to Messi, that every argument I have to make has to be in favor of Messi. No, I keep my mind in a position where it allows me to hold positions as the object of the day demands. And then you become credible. Okay? So blind followership of your football club stops you from being objective in your output. If you have enough respect for the job, you have to start divorcing those sentiments. You see a spade, you call it a spade, whether it paints the club that you love negatively or not. You have a duty to the profession. And that duty to the profession should suffice. So that's my response, Fortune.
Thank you so much, sir. Okay, we still have more questions.
It's fine.
Abiazem Olisa, if you're there, you can have the floor.
Good day, sir. Onah Kosi. I'm a very, very big fan. I used to listen to you from when I was a very young, young guy aspiring to be on radio, and now I'm on radio, and particularly is thanks to listening to guys like you. So I just wanted to add the situation where you're talking about your club, being objective about your club, and comparing it to a surgeon. Yes, there are some cases where a surgeon is not expected to work on his family due to the fact that he's going to feel emotionally attached, emotionally stressed. What if I make a mistake? What if I do this? So sometimes what I do sometimes is that I try not to discourse or dive in too much to show out my sentiments on radio. So I just try to keep it short and simple. I try to be factual as possible, because sometimes you don't know when your emotions can actually come up and you start going out of the lane and start being sentimental. So that's just what I want to say, sir. Thank you, sir.
All right, Blossom. It's to my great happiness that you finally achieved an aspect of your dreams, which is to be on radio, and I wish you more accomplishments. I wish you more accomplishments. Your observation, right? It might be the case that on certain circumstances, surgeons are not allowed to operate on family members. That might be the case, but the meat of that example I cited is that um, I don't think by and large a surgeon is not expected to operate well or not operate well on the basis of what they think about the patient. Okay, so that's the part of the Hippocratic oath they take. It also places that demand on them to be fair at all times. Um, so yeah, and well done. If you in the course of your work you're trying to be as objective as possible, fine. And also remember, Blossom, that let's not take for granted the opportunity that we have. You know that a lot of people rely on you. In fact, they take what you say sometimes. Sometimes when they listen and you say some things, they go out there and reproduce it because they assume you to be an authority. So why not serve them the best way possible? Okay? Why not serve them the best way possible? In the hallowed chambers of the studio, why don't we try to make what we put out there the best thing possible? And let me also touch on this, that there could be circumstances, shows that could be designed for the sole purpose of partisan club support. But if the the presenter can achieve this by, you can invite Man U fans, you can invite Chelsea fans, you can invite Arsenal fans, you can invite Milan fans, Bayern Munich fans, then you moderate their partisanship. But once you yourself, you get involved directly in it, you're staining your credibility. And when you're up for another circumstance, another show that is not designed for partisanship, people will remember you by that stain. Partly, they will judge the things that you say subsequently based on what you've established. Okay. So I think I hope there's some sense in all that I've said.
Yes, yes, sir.
All right. And good luck, Blossom, with all the other things you'll be up to.
Check. It's Abiazem Olisa, sir.
Oh, okay, Abiazem Olisa. Okay, all right.
All right, sir. Thank you very much. Well, we still have questions in the chat box.
No problem.
Okay.
I have time.
Okay, we have one from Olayinka Sahid. His question is, from your creative idea, can you simply explain the process of interviewing any athletes so as to be objective in investigate reporting?
Okay.
Did you get the question, sir?
Yes, I did. I did. How do you interview? How do you interview? First off, what do you hope to achieve from the interview? What do you hope to achieve from the interview? You, the interviewer, should know what your intentions are. If I want to interview Barrister Chris Green, the current commissioner for sports in Rivers State, I won't start asking him questions about the construction of flyovers. That should be for the commissioner of works, if I'm correct. If I want to interview, let's say, Babatunde Fashola, the Minister of Works and Housing, I won't start asking him about agriculture. That should be for the Minister of Agriculture. So if I want to talk about the ASU strike, I will talk to Chris Ngige and not Fashola. So I'm saying this because you identify the individual you want to interview, know what you want to get from the interview, and it helps you then tailor the questions that will help you derive that. Okay? So I interview Fashola and I want to talk about the housing policy of the government. Then I start by looking at the budget, how much was allocated to his ministry. And then I do my own investigation so that I have something to go with. What are the projects embarked upon? Then I can ask him that it's been 8 years, nearly 8 years since he became minister. And so far, only so and so amount of housing units has been established. Why is that? And from the responses, we can determine whether his ministry has underperformed, performed, or overperformed. Okay? So remember, how are you objective? How can you not be? Are you, as a journalist, an interested party? You're not there to ridicule him, even if you're there to expose his inefficiency. That should come through his inadequate responses to your adequate questions. You don't go and say, Honorable Minister, you have failed. You have failed. No, that's not what you do. You simply say that at the onset of this administration, you had a target to achieve in 4 years 3 million units of 2-bedroom houses for so and so low-income earners. According to available statistics, only 900 units has been built. What is the reason for this underperformance? That is different from saying, Honorable Minister, you have failed. You're not combative. You're not attacking him. So the approach matters. And try to put the person being interviewed at ease. If they feel threatened, if they feel it will not be a good session. Okay. All right. So know what you want to achieve from the interview. Set out the questions that should help you achieve them, and anticipate the responses and have follow-up, and also be able to develop critical thinking so that you can do on-the-spot assimilation and create new questions from the responses that you're getting. So Olayinka, Saheed, I hope I have made a reasonable contribution to the question that you've asked.
Okay, so we still have more questions. Okay. From Awesome Emmanuel.
Okay.
He said, in your personal career, how have you been able to maintain your consistency in excellence?
Well, I presume he thinks that I have been consistent and excellent. And if that's what it is, then I'm only glad. But I'm a work in progress every single day. That's my mindset, okay? So how? I try to put in the work, okay? I try to put in the work. I try to do as much as I can. So sometimes in the morning, you hear me by 7:05 a.m. But you probably had no idea how long it took to put something together that I will say for just 15 minutes or 19 minutes. What if I told you sometimes it takes 9 to 10 hours to get together an entire body of work that will last for just 15 minutes or 19 minutes in the morning? So, but it's important to me that I do something good with the opportunity that I have. So I put in the work. You will feel tired, you'll be exhausted, you probably even have to sacrifice a bit of your health, which is not a nice thing. But I'm just trying to point out hard work. It requires work. It requires hard work. You can't cut corners around it. I'm not satisfied if I do the bare minimum. I'm not. So because I'm not, I try not to do the bare minimum. It's just that's what we've been talking about all through today. If a surgeon cannot afford to do a clumsy walk, why should I, a broadcaster? So if I have to, because I am a football commentator too, so if I have to do a commentary on an Arsenal versus Tottenham Hotspur game or a Real Madrid versus Barcelona game, I spend time on each player and I have to have as much information as I can. How many games has he played this season? How many are substitutes? If I can even find out what he ate last night before going to bed, I would. Because it's better to have more than you can use than to have less than is required. So the attitude, and then you put in the work required. Awesome. That's how it is.
All right, thank you, sir.
Okay.
We still have question. Emeka Tony. Emeka Tony, if you're there, you can ask your question. Okay, while we wait for Emeka Tony.
Hello.
Okay. Okay.
Good afternoon. I think I already dropped my hand, but I just want to add to what the last guy that spoke about being objective said. Just recently, I was having a discussion in a WhatsApp group concerning football matters, and I was judged to be sentimental because I actually put my favorite team, though it was understandable, second as to who will be able to win the league, and was just sentimental. So how do one go about that? Do you stop talking about it, or you go on with it with your valid point?
Toya, if I understand correctly, you were in a WhatsApp forum where the question was about who would win the league, and you picked your favorite club, right?
Yes. I actually even analyzed it, that it was even about AC Milan, and I realized that the other teams are not consistent. They will actually fall along the way. That the favorite is Inter Milan and
okay.
AC Milan to win it.
So when making this analysis, where was it coming from? Were you interested in putting up a show for the club that you love, or were you truly speaking on the basis of what you think is the case, would be the case?
Well, I was speaking based on what I've seen so far over the years.
Then you've not done anything. You've not done anything wrong now. You've not done anything wrong. If your fair analysis of an issue coincides with the club that you support, then fine. Where it will be a problem is if you are convinced, you know deep down that Milan they are not the best performing side. You don't think they are really the ones, but you feel that because you're a Milan fan, you must be an advocate for Milan. That's where it's wrong. If you think Milan would win the league and you go on to say it's not Milan, it's Roma, then you're equally wrong. The thing is, at all times, be in search of the truth of the matter. If the truth coincides with the club that you love, then speak it. If not, don't speak it. That's what objectivity is all about. It doesn't mean take an anti or pro position. No, if you follow the truth, wherever it lands, whether at your club or against your club, you will speak it. That's objectivity. You get?
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Good.
Okay.
Okay. Abiazem Olisa, you can take the floor.
Okay, sir, I want to ask, sir, I went into the media basically because I think from age 14, I was a very good commentator. I started commentating on events, but I wanted to do it on a global stage on radio. But I've not gotten that opportunity yet to actually commentate, and I really want to commentate. So what do you advise that I do? Should I forego it, or I should continue practicing and maybe the opportunity will just come knocking on my door one day?
There are two ways to look at this issue about opportunity and destiny and all. There are things that happen in life that are not within our control. Okay? But how about we focus on the ones that are within our control? Okay? So if you go to the gym and you start lifting weights, your muscles start to ache as your body adjusts to the burden or the new pressure. But if you keep lifting weights, it becomes easier and easier for you. Sometimes you have a gym session, you don't even feel any pain, okay? It's the same thing with broadcasting and football commentary. The more you do, the better you get. The more attention you pay to the detail, the better you get. Now, well, how did I? Okay, the more you do, the better you get. So even while you're waiting for a bigger stage or a platform to host you, keep doing what you can on your own, okay? Exert yourself, get clips of games, record commentaries, try and layer it over them. Also, listening to as much commentary as you can, learn the elements, see with your eyes, listening with your mind's eye, absorb what is being said and the patterns, okay? And keep developing yourself. Now, opportunity will come, but you have to be on the lookout for it. Join the right spaces, follow the right individuals on social media, follow the right media houses. Then when your work is one that you think is good enough for the world to hear, that's the beauty of social media. You can put it out there, use the hashtags, tag the individuals concerned, share your work in as platforms, ask for feedback, then that's why these companies still advertise on television, on radio, via social media, because they still want people to know that they exist. They want to be there and have a presence in the public space. So keep working, keep developing yourself, then find a way to advertise yourself. Social media has made it easy. On your page, post your work, tag the individuals, use the hashtags that will amplify them, and you're good. And sooner than later, someone who fancies your work will come along and may even say, oh, wow, this guy, I need so and so services, and he can render it. And then they chat you up, and then you go from there. A company might advertise, and part of what they may be looking for is like Oga Sami already alluded to, if you can do more than food, the more things you can do, the more opportunities that you would find yourself suitably qualified for. So they may advertise, we're looking for a commentator, fine, and then you'll be ready. But you have to be ready so that when opportunity comes knocking, it will find you prepared and you will grab it with both hands. Okay?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Okay, so I think that's the last question we've had so far. But I have one question. I want to ask, not in line with sports, so
No
okay,
problem.
but okay. I have issues with myself. I noticed, okay, the first time I was on set to do a short clip, like a kind of documentary. I'm a volunteer, and once in a while we do documentaries and all the rest. So I was given a script. I practiced everything in me. I really practiced on that script and I could say it, but the issue there was I was not able to read my script in line with what they gave me. Like I was replacing words with my own words, and my director was really angry about that thing. For that, I don't know. I did the script actually, but it wasn't posted. I really don't know why. When I asked, I was not given any reason why. But I noticed after then, I kept practicing with other script, and it have always been an issue with me. Even in school, I can listen to what someone is saying. I understand it, but I cannot give it back exactly how the person wants it, like in your own words. I can give you with my own words, but most times I understand that people are not really satisfied with that pattern, especially for the ones that love it when you give them hook, line, and sinker. So how do I overcome such? Because I've been practicing, and I even told my sis a few days ago that I'm really tired of this nonsense. Maybe there should be a way out. So that's why I'm asking if there's a way out on this situation.
All right, Morrison. First thing I would say is there is nothing wrong with you. The first time I anchored a radio program, not a mock session, a real radio program. I had to speak and people were out there listening. I was on campus then, and the regular presenter had reason to be out of town. So it fell on me. It was a small campus radio, so such opportunities can arise. So I remember I had some fright. I did, because I mean, it's something for the first time I had some fright. I hadn't even had reasonable practice. I was just a contributor until I had to be the anchor. So it's natural that you feel a little bit uneasy. It only makes you a human being. So how do you go past that? Try and film more documentaries. Use your mobile phone, have someone write a script for you and try to deliver. The more you practice, the better you get. Now, our creative industry can be a little bit tricky. I had a bit of a quarrel with the guy that produces sounds, and that's his job. He's the guy that mans the production room, because I had the responsibility to create something. So I wrote the scripts, I got the effects, I got everything I needed. I can reasonably mix them all together, but it's not my purview. That's the reason why we have a production room. So he is in charge of quality control of the output. So I walk up to him, and when two creatives are in a space and they are not in sync, hey, there's friction. He wants to superimpose on me his idea of how that thing should be. But I created the script. I know how it should be. He doesn't understand it. So, and he is not the arbiter, I'm not the arbiter. We have a head of programs who at the end of the production would have to listen to it and approve. So my attitude was, Oga, do this thing. Piece them together. Let it be for the programs manager to decide whether it's good enough or not. So I understand your friction with the script writer. But remember, I am humble enough to accept that if the programs director says this thing should not go, that's his job. I cannot be a presenter and do his own job too. His job is his job. There's a reason why he is being given the job. So it's in his office. It is his responsibility. So we must develop some level of humility to understand the system. I might think the programs director is wrong, but my feelings cannot overrule dictates of his office. I'm under him. So if someone has written a script and what they desire of you is to deliver the script as they have written, because there's a lot of thinking, and your job is to execute that script, set your mind to be able to execute that script. When you become a director and you want to be the kind of director that gives talents and creatives the right to make adjustments, fine, you can. But while you're working with this person, who is, I don't know if I'm right or wrong, in that circumstance, superior in that respect, give to Caesar what belongs to Caesar. In fact, part of what makes you an excellent voiceover artist or a presenter in that sense, visual, is that you're able to metamorphose into what they want you to be and still deliver. So Morrison, first, there's nothing wrong with you that you're having these difficulties. No, there's nothing wrong with you. It's quite natural. I understand the trouble because you are a creative. You have ideas, okay? You even think perhaps you can modify that script to be better than what the director has given you. But unfortunately, it is not your duty. Your duty is to perform what is given to you, not to perform what you prefer. Do you understand, Morrison?
Yes, I do. Thank you very much, sir.
So let that be. Hello?
Yes, sir, I can hear you, sir.
Okay, so let that be the mindset guiding you, okay? A day would come when you will
Sir, we've lost you. Hello, sir.
Yeah, can you hear me? I'm sorry, something just got in the way.
Okay, sir, we can hear you now.
Okay, so I'm saying now, tomorrow will come. You may have your own enterprise. You may choose to work differently. You may be the one who can collect people and then you give them the opportunity to be expressive beyond what you've given to them. But if you find yourself in a place where that is not what is required of you, then you have to adjust, okay? Part of leading is serving, okay? You learn to serve and then you can lead sometimes, okay? So there's nothing wrong with you, but you must learn to adjust to the situation, okay? That's what I can say. And good luck.
All right, thank you very much, sir.
Okay.
Thank you so much. We still have questions, and Asalemi Wolobi, if you're there, you can unmute and have the floor. Owolobi, are you there? You can unmute and have the floor.
Okay, I'm here. Thank you very much. Thank you once again, Onah Kosi, for your time and your
Thank you.
point out your mind for us. I'm actually interested in the news, basically. And I used to think that probably the broadcasting is just the 7 to 4, 7 to 5 job. But I'm in the course of coming to learn all of this, I'm realizing that it's way more than I have even thought in the past. With all of this, how do you balance the media job, your health, and your health. How do you manage all of this together?
Oh, you mean how do I balance the media work and my work, please?
How do you manage all of them together?
Okay, I get the part where you're asking how do I manage the media job and what's the other thing?
How do you manage the media job, your health?
Okay. I came into my original interest in media was not, of course, I love sports. I was on the periphery. I watch football like everybody else. Most people, cheer these teams, and sometimes I give opinions on these matters. But when I started looking at coming into broadcasting as like something I can do and do well and be and make a career out of, it wasn't about sports. It was entirely something different. But when an opportunity opened up some time ago, and I found that, okay, why not? I can do this. I metamorphosed into a sports broadcast journalist. Now, I knew that I had a lot of work to do. If I had to become good at it, then I have to dedicate time. Let me give you an example. When we talk Formula One, we talk basketball, NBA, we talk football, local and foreign, we talk athletics, we talk golf, we talk table tennis, we talk gymnastics, we talk pole vaulting, we talk all kinds of things. And you're expected to know a reasonable amount of what you talk about on these things. So can you imagine how all these things you have to? So for someone like me who tried to adopt the attitude that I've been preaching since we started this lecture, it required work. So the only time I wasn't thinking or worrying or was anxious or trying to get information was when I was asleep. So, and my schedule then did not work for me because I ended up working consecutively and I couldn't sleep at night. And when you don't sleep, and I was I'm just moved to PH from where I used to be. I didn't have friends, I didn't have family. Unfortunately, I don't know how to cook a wide range of things. So I wasn't feeding well, I wasn't sleeping, I was stressed out. And then it started taking its toll on my health, something I haven't quite recovered, from. Even now, I still suffer. Even when I'm free, I can't sleep because my body has not adapted to finding sleep. But at a point, you have to start realizing what matters. If I collapse and die, Nigeria Info or Cool FM will put out a statement. We've just lost our broadcaster who slumped and died. My colleagues will put up a post, gone too soon. Oh, this wasn't how it was supposed to be. We thought we had more time to spend together. Those who listen to me every day would feel my absence for a while, and I will be in memory. And another broadcaster comes along and they adjust. So I'm saying at a point, you also have to ask yourself what really matters. If your body is your first property, your first possession, and there's no spare, how about you also devote time to take care of it? So how do you balance it? So I have learned the hard way, and I'm making deliberate efforts to take care of my body. So what do? I try to develop patterns that would help me. So if on weekends, Sundays that are usually my toughest days, I start preparing for Monday on Saturday so that I can do it bit by bit and have more time to rest. So before this lecture, I went up to the rooftop of the building where I stay and took some sunlight and drank at least about a liter of water. and then ran a little and took some brisk walk, you know, you start to read. If I exercise, you just have to find a way to deliberately take care of your body while also giving your work time. So as soon as you start consciously, and the night before, I had something heavy in the afternoon. Then last night, everyone suffers inflation, right? No. But I said, okay, let me try today. I don't like that as much money is leaving my pocket, but I have to buy some fruits because they are vitamins. Okay, and I'm trying to take some supplements, vitamin C, just take 1,000 milligrams. You know, I'm just sharing some of these my personal experiences because the essence of it is to tell you that I've gotten to a point where I'm not as foolish as to think that it does not matter. And thankfully, I have put in the work to a point where I have laid a foundation where I can build so that when these conversations are going in, many persons will not know even that I'm not originally a sports journalist and I'm a relative newbie in the industry because I've taken time to work on it. And now I have a certain pedestal and a bit of history backing it up that I can now afford to spend more time taking care of my body than I used to. So you have to find the balance. Know that your health matters most. Know that it matters and try to give it work. And you're absolutely correct. It's not a 9 to 5 thing. No, you have to be up every single time you're assimilating information. It's the nature of the job. You know, sometimes you have to make these sacrifices to be good at it while also finding a way to take care of your body. Exercise, drink water, try and eat well. It can make up for the loss. Okay. Olua, oh, Owolobi Selemi, yes, that's your name. I don't know, but I'm learning every day too. But I hope, but once you make a deliberate effort, there will always be a way. I wish I was wiser, but again, if I say I wish I was wiser, I had to do the things I did so that I can catch up and not be lagging behind. Okay.
Thank you very much, sir. It's been a nice lecture with you, and I think that's the last question.
If you have a question.
Okay, you still have a question.
Yes, I do.
Okay, then you can continue.
Okay. Kosi, thank you. Although you almost murdered my name, but thank you for correcting yourself.
I'm sorry. Please. I apologize.
No problem. I take that. Again, I'm to ask, in this industry, growing, although for a few, they've been very fortunate, they've managed to grow faster. But I've come to observe that it takes time to grow. It takes time to build and to grow. Ogasami was giving us this afternoon the example of getting the land, the plot of land, clearing the bushes, and then putting up a structure. All that will take time. I'm in my late 30s. Is there an opportunity for me in this industry?
Absolutely, yes. Absolutely, yes. There's an opportunity for you in this industry. The thing about broadcasting is I had someone we are related, my part of my extended family, you know. So he turned 80 years old last month, and he still took he's retired, but he took the news at FRC and Enugu just as a way of commemorating his birthday because he was a former DG. and he still took it and took it well. So one of the things about broadcasting is, if I'm a footballer, I get to 35, my physical abilities drop. If I'm a tennis player, the same. Serena Williams just retired, mostly because she's 40. There's a point where age, wear and tear of the body then limits me, because athletes use their bodies. But for the broadcaster, they use their minds more. Larry King was how old before he passed on? Quite old. Even actors, as they age, they metamorphose into the kinds of roles that they play. Why I will not say that it's not important to have an early start. Not starting early does not mean you cannot, okay? Because in fact, there are aspects of the job. See, everything is being watered down so much. That everything is being watered down so much. Remember when I was giving the lecture, I talked about Instagram and Instagram popularity and all of these things. You know that even some employers go to social media and say, okay, this person has 1 million followers, therefore I will employ the person. I find that irritable, but it's not my job to recruit. If I own a company, I won't recruit that way. What I'm trying to say is this, that even if the broadcasting industry has a certain bias for the flair of the younger, it does not mean that in your late 30s, you cannot step into the scene with the profound value that you have to add and play your own role, okay? So instead of thinking about it in terms of how old you've become in your late 30s, think about how well you have become. Because if I'm an employer, what I'll look out for in the first instance is competence. Competence, competence, competence. Especially if the aspect of the industry where you intend to work is one that, let me give an instance. Let's say over at Cool FM now, listeners, the demography of Cool FM listeners are the hip, the hop, the guys that are obsessed with Rema, the young girls that want to, are obsessed with Rema, Davido, Wizkid, wants to know what Justin Bieber is doing. You know, at a certain age, you will probably not be interested in some of those things. So when Cool FM wants to pick a presenter, they will go for relatability. They want someone the audience can relate to. But if you're talking about Nigeria Info, for instance, that is not a criteria. You want someone who is knowledgeable, who can command the microphone and establish presence. And being in your late 30s is not a barrier for you to be able to achieve that. In our studios in Lagos, one of the guys is Jimmy Disu. How old is Jimmy Disu? He's older than you are. But people still tune in to listen to him because of what they think is the profoundness of what he offers. So if the dimension that you're looking at in broadcasting isn't about this hip hop, I'm not dismissive about those things. They have imagine the world without music. What an ugly place it would be. But I'm saying is just not a key interest of mine. And from the analysis I'm making, if that's not the aspect that you're interested in, and it's the other parts of it, then why not? Why not? If it's about sports, one of the guys I loved, Jim White is his name, used to be at Sky Sports, now in Talk Sports. How old is he? He's in his late 60s. Is he hitting 70? But I still try to listen to him when I can. So he hasn't diminished because he's getting older. So that's just what I intend to say on this.
Thank you very much. That's a good moral booster for me. Thank you.
All right, Salemi.
All right, sir. Thank you so much. I think that's the last question for this session. So if you have anything you want to tell us, as a word of advice or motivation, you can just tell us, and then so we can end the class.
Well, I just want to say, no one has life figured out. No one, no one. But you can keep trying, and good luck to you. And importantly, if you are a student, try to be a student as you can be. If you're an engineer, try to be a good an engineer as you can be. If you're a doctor, if you're a footballer, if you are a carpenter, whatever it is that you are doing, always carry in your mind that it is worth doing well. Let that be the attitude that guides you. And hard work has its rewards. Okay, so I haven't spoken as someone who presumes to know it all. Big aspects of my life as we speak is about figuring it out every single day. But I want to gain the satisfaction, at least, even if I don't achieve all my goals, that I tried the best I could or something close to the best I could. So keep on keeping on, keep on improving every day. Stay observant. Pray if you are the type, and be an optimist. I hear it has a way of bringing you good tidings. So good luck to all of us. Yes.
Thank you so much, sir.
You're
Then, sir,
welcome.
one more thing. Please, can you drop your social media handles so we can follow you on social media?
Okay. Sometimes I'm not very good with social media, but I'm not a snob. People just sometimes think I am, but sometimes one gets so busy at times. But I promise you, I'm not a snob, and when I can, I'll react to as much as I can. So yeah, these are my handles on social media. Kosi Onah on over at Instagram. That's KOSI ONAH together. Instagram, Kosi Onah, KOSI ONAH together. You will find me. On Twitter, it's at Onah Kosi. That's ONAH KOSI. ONAH KOSI. Facebook, I have a principle. I prefer my Facebook to be about people that I know at least personally, reasonably. Okay. So before sometimes before I take friend requests on Facebook, we would have spoken for a while. So my Facebook is Onah Kosi. That's ONAH space KOSI. Onah Kosi as separate words. ONAH KOSI. My Facebook Messenger, you can leave me a message on Facebook. That's where I usually interact. And if we become friends, we can always now share each other's Facebook as friends. Okay. So, but I'm looking forward to making new friends and interacting with all of you across these platforms.
All right. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you very much. It's been my pleasure.
A lovely moment with you, and it has really been impactful. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Hello.
Hello, sir.
Okay, so I suppose this is the end of my bit of today's lectures, yeah?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you to you all for having me. It's been my honor and pleasure.
All right, thank you. On behalf of everybody, I'm saying thank you.
Thank you too. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, so everyone, the class have ended for today, for this session rather. Just get ready for the next one coming up by 3 p.m.
So I presume I should end the class now.
Yes, you can.